Hello, everyone. Every ride driven is a reflection. Not every single one, but everyone can. Every ride could be, depending on your perspective and your outlook. Now, personally, when I was doing ride share, most of the rides was a reflection depending on the story that I heard, positive or negative. Now, there were rides that I had clients in the back seat. Some of them were asleep due to the hour of the day, just fatigued of the day, feeling under the weather, and then it was individuals that just had their headphones on and they really didn't want to talk. Once they got into the vehicle and they, said good afternoon, good morning, and me feeling the vibes, and the vibe was leave them alone and just drive and get them to where they need to be because that's the kind of headspace that he or she was in, and so that's what I did. The reason that I said every ride is a reflection because it's almost like a mirror. Like you're not comparing yourself to anything or anyone because comparison is the thief of joy. Allegedly, that's what they say. So I try not to compare, but I keep things in perspective, being realistic, also being optimistic. One of the simplistic examples is you're doing ride share, you have a client that hops into your back seat and you take him to where you need to take him or her. It could be to a family reunion, it could be to see their kid performing at a school play, it could be a graduation, it can be a meeting for work downtown in the city. Either way it goes, if you all are conversing and it's beyond small talk and they're getting into the depths of what they're dealing with on a mental level, things that are going on at home. Once you get the client to where they need to be and you drive off, in most cases you can't help but reflect. Even let's say you're a ride share driver and you have no kids, but then the individual you just dropped off, you had a kid, that can lead you to thinking like, well, hey, how would I handle the situation that they shared? And again, it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. You can question, hey, how would I have handled that? If I was a parent. Let's take another couple that's in a relationship, and they have not argument better, not arguing in the backseat, but trading thoughts. Since everything is a trade off, they're just trading thoughts. And then you as the driver, it could be a him or her, and she could be a single woman and be foreshadowing like, hey, if she get into a relationship with a guy, how would she handle a situation? Or, even myself at the time, I was single, so I would reflect and be like, would I have handled that situation like how the client handled his situation? In the situation I'm talking about, they were in the back seat. He came into town for business. I was taking him downtown in the city. He was on the phone conversing with his wife, and they were going back and forth. A reference to a trip he had planned. He had already created an itinerary. She wanted to modify situations that would have not just affected them, but a group of their friends that were waiting on them. As they say, communication is key. Communication is key. And they say happy wife, happy life, but I don't buy into that. But I'm not married. And even if I was married, I wouldn't buy into that. Because I think, on a side note, people happiness should be an inside job. You shouldn't be looking externally for happiness. So, anywho, moving on. Every ride driven is a reflection, and not just from my standpoint when I was driving. You know, I've had certain conversations with clients, and they would ask my opinion. Like for example, I had a client I picked up in Arlington, took him to Fort Worth. He was a big Cowboys fan, the professional football team. And though I'm a fan of the opposite team, the team in PA, Pennsylvania, Go Birds, I'm an objective fan. So when he was complaining about Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys and Prescott, I told him that I understand where he's coming from, understood where he was coming from, excuse me, and that the owner, Jerry Jones, was doing what the owner does. Within the last 4 to 5 years, at the time we were having this discussion, when I was telling him the last 4 to 5 years, Jerry Jones put great teams around that. At least 3 out of those 5 years, they had like the number one offense. This is when Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator, who is currently the head coach for the New Orleans Saints. And they had good records. They had like 12 wins and 10 wins. And any Cowboys fans out there, you all can correct me if I'm inaccurate, because I do not know everything and I do make mistakes. But in the playoffs, the team, but the leader of the team, which is the quarterback, Prescott, did it come through? Didn't. I remember a few years back versus San Fran. He had some turnovers and they didn't win. And by the end of the ride, my client was like, hey, he had a different perspective. He understood that it wasn't all Prescott's fault. A lot of it was narrative driven, and that it's the team. And that once, Jerry Jones pays the players, it's up to the coaches and the players to come together and be a dominant team. So in that drive, the client, you know, was reflective. So it's not just for you, the driver, it can be for the client too. So anyone that does ride share or has done ride share, and look, you could have done ride share from the standpoint where you wasn't the one driving the vehicle, but you were the one sitting in the back seat. Or for those ride share drivers that allow people to sit in the front seat, you couldn't have been in the front seat. But either way, you all can let me know in the comments. Has every ride been a reflection? Just let me know. Good, bad, sad, happy, shenanigans, whatever kind of ride. Just let me know. Let me know what you all think. But yeah, I really truly do believe, even in 2025, if you were to do ride share, every ride driven would be a reflection. And it don't have to necessarily be a conversation. It could be you drop someone off in a certain part of the city and you thinking to yourself, hell no, I will no longer be coming to this area. You will even probably get into the app and try to modify it where it never brings you back to the area. You may pick up a client that has a dog, and even though dogs are man's best friend, that's a dog that is just shitting way too much. So what do you do after that ride? After you reflect, you think, never again will I have a dog in my back seat. So it's beauty in it's all, even in the bad things. There's still positivity. So when you have the opportunity, or if you decide to do ride share, just understand that it behooves you to reflect, because every ride driven is definitely a reflection. If you're paying attention, if you don't only have your eyes open, but you have your mind open. And in doing that, I think you will always be successful. Will you always get the best customers? Hell no. Will you always make a lot of money? Hell no. Will you make some money? Hell yes. Will you have positive customers? Hell yes. So it's a balance. You cannot have positive customers without having, positive clients. You can't have positive clients without having negative clients. And you cannot make a lot of money without making a little bit of money. So again, every ride driven is a reflection. And it could be you could have drove for 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, no matter what time of the day. In fact, depending on the time of the day you drive, you will have more consistency of certain reflections. And again, this is subjective from driver to driver. Some drivers do not care. They just want to get their client to where they need to be and get them the hell out of their vehicle. And I know this to be true because I was like this initially. I think after my first week, I changed my mindset. So, but again, everything is about mindset, perspective, and growth. So, I just wanted to bring you all this today. You all continue to have a wonderful day, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.